Blue and red lights splashed across my living room wall, bouncing off the picture frames like some kind of busted 4th of July. Yeah, that's how my quiet Sunday night kicked off. I'd barely made it back from my little lake cabin, groceries in hand, fishing hat still dripping on my head, when I looked out the window and saw her, HOA Karen, pointing at me with both hands like she was landing airplanes in my driveway. "Officer, that's him. He's trespassing in his own house," she hollered. And let me tell you, if cents were fuel, Karen couldn't drive a moped. 2 officers, one tall, one compact, stood on my porch, and Karen fluttered behind them, clipboard in tow, already halfway through her Oscar speech. The taller officer said, "Sir, we got a call that you broke into this property." I blinked. Broke into my own house. You know what I mean? It takes a special kind of neighbor to make the cops question your mailing address. Karen shoved a folder at the officer, hissing, "We have rules." He left for the weekend. Didn't file the return notice. Another family is scheduled for the dock. His boat's in the wrong slip. He's in violation, criminal trespass under section. She flipped through those papers like she was auditioning for Jeopardy. Whatever. Arrest him. I kept my cool. "My name's Jake Miller. This is my house. I've got the deed, officer." Karen smiled at me like someone taped it on upside down, told me to show the deed to her lawyer, who was supposedly on his way. The short officer checked my ID, my mailbox, back to me, then over at Karen, who was already revving up for round 2. He didn't fill out the return notice. The dock schedule says he forfeited. Call the lawyer. And right on cue, here comes Andrew, the HOA attorney, walking up like a rain cloud in a suit, gray on gray on gray. He wanted to see my deed, so I pulled out the fat folder from my kitchen. Andrew read it once, twice, 3 times, his lips getting paler with every page. Karen was practically tap dancing in place, demanding he do something, but Andrew just closed his briefcase with a click and said, "I resign from the HOA council, right now." Karen's jaw dropped so hard I swear I heard it echo off the mailbox. Andrew slid my deed back across the island, voice shaking. "You hold rights the board cannot override. Frankly, call your own attorney." And with that, he was gone, leaving Karen fizzing, the officers blinking, and me staring at a single sheet of paper that just made a lawyer quit on the spot. Outside, the sirens faded, but the tow truck's hook clanged off my trailer like a warning bell. As I ran toward my boat, chain scraping metal, everything flipped in my head, and I thought, 3 hours ago, I was driving home, sun on my arm, not knowing a single rule, one piece of paper, and one very loud neighbor were about to turn my Sunday into a circus. I moved to Lake Pine Harbor because the water felt gentle. I grew up crammed into a little apartment, mom working diner double shifts, dad teaching me to keep my word even if nobody cared. Lake Pine, back then, was peace, herons gliding, fireflies doing their little magic tricks at dusk. I bought my house in a sleepy winter when the world wore silver and the old HOA president, Mr. Benson, brought me a welcome basket and a slice of lemon bread. "We're big on kindness here," he said. "Rules keep peace, not power." And I believed him, right up until he moved to Florida and Karen Whitfield took the helm. Her first act? A 6-page email, 53 bullet points. File a return notice if you leave for more than 24 hours. Sounded silly, but I don't like fights. I fix things, fish at sunrise, build toy boats for the neighbor kids out of scrap wood, leave them on porches with a note. Kindness doesn't need receipts. But Karen? She measured grass with a ruler, told Mrs. Diaz her wind chimes were too cheerful, scolded Mr. Patel for painting his mailbox too blue, even tried to ban lemonade stands because lemons attract bees. The first time I met her, I was raking leaves from the drain. She marched up, arms crossed, and cited me for clearing the street without permission. When I offered her an extra rake, she looked at me like I was speaking Martian. "I'm the president," she snapped, and that should have told me everything. Last weekend, I needed a break. Work was rough. My boss wanted numbers that did magic tricks. I just wanted honesty. I drove up to my old cabin an hour away, fixed a broken step, had some chili, watched the lake go orange, fell asleep with the window open. Then storm. Wind pounding, branches snapping, the radio warning of downed power lines back at Lake Pine. I thought of Mrs. Green, my elderly neighbor, who needed her medical device working. So I packed up, called the HOA office. "Returning early, we'll file forms. Thanks, send an email too." By the time I got home, rain had eased. Mrs. Green's porch light was off. She opened the door with relief written all over her face. I plugged in her device, made tea, sat with her while the rain tapped the glass. That's when Karen's white SUV rolled by, real slow. She stared, then drove off. I didn't think much of it. But by the time I got inside, groceries unpacked, hat dripping on a chair, my phone buzzed. "You are in violation." Patrol called. No response when I explained, just silence, then sirens, then Karen, then the lawyer, then the madness. The developer's addendum, hidden in my deed, was the ace, plain English, bold print, certain parcels, mine included, have permanent dock rights and emergency ingress, immune from any new HOA policy. I never used it to bully anyone. I used my boat to take neighbor kids fishing, kept extra life vests, tied ropes in storms. Karen? She liked rules loud, not old truths. So the lawyer quit, but the tow truck driver hadn't heard the news. He was here to hook my boat, Mercy. Mercy was my mom's idea. She said, "Name something Mercy, and try to live up to it." I ran into the rain. The officer stepped in. "Hold a minute," paused the tow. Karen's words flew like sparks, but for a moment, I really looked at her. Tired, angry, afraid. "Karen," I said, soft, "are you okay?" She bristled, but behind the mask, I saw a stormy person, not just a person in a storm. I explained about Mrs. Green, offered to let her check, promised to sign forms tomorrow, even mow the common grass. For a heartbeat, I thought maybe she'd accept peace. But then Trent, the board's vice president, arrived waving a red folder. "Emergency session, motion passed. We're placing a lien on your house and towing the boat now." The officer barked back, "A lien? You can't do that at 9 p.m. Sunday without notice." Trent grinned, "Watch us." And right then, the night turned from just loud to something close to dangerous. Power with no kindness is like a boat without oars, spinning out of control. Inside, I laid out the addendum. The officers read it, nodded. "I see why the lawyer quit," the taller one said. Outside, Trent planted a big red violation sign on my lawn. Neighbors started peeking out, worried. I could have yelled, thrown the sign, but I just told the kids, "Go inside, it'll be okay." Told the adults, "I'll bring this to the county." Truth speaks. Karen sneered. "Truth is what the board says." "No," I said. "Truth is what the facts say, and kindness is what people remember." Then things really unraveled. News cameras, county deputy marshal, more lights, more cars. Trent tried to flex, but the deputy wanted the deed. I handed it over, the cameras rolling, the rain softening, neighbors watching. The deputy read, page after page, until his face changed. "Yeah, you know that look when a puzzle piece slides in?" The tow hook slipped, smashed my mailbox, letters flying everywhere. Nobody moved. Then, a black SUV roared up, a man in a Navy suit yelling. "By order of the court." He had an emergency order signed by Judge Harmon. HOA barred from touching my boat, my dock, my house. Karen looked like a fish out of water, Trent turned the color of an apple, and the man, Royce, my neighbor's lawyer, explained that Mrs. Green had called his office for help. Sometimes, you do kindness, and it comes back like a boomerang. The court order calmed things down, but not everyone was ready to quit. Trent pressed on, demanding camera footage, a compliance audit, threatening entry. "You're not the city. You're my neighbor. You can't demand entry or footage." The volunteer security kid looked like he wanted to vanish. "Soft brakes," Trent hissed. "No," I said, "soft bends. It doesn't break." And that's when it hit. Sirens from the lake. Man overboard. Panic cut through everything. Rules gone. Now it was just people and water and a kid flailing in the dark. The officer, Mr. Patel, and I ran for Mercy. We tossed vests, grabbed rope, launched into the black water. The lake doesn't care about bylaws. We pulled one, then two people from the water, but there was a third, a boy vanishing in the dark. My arms were jelly, but I dove, found him, dragged him up. The officer started compressions. Patel gave breaths. I held his hand, whispering prayers I didn't know I remembered. He sputtered, gasped, lived. On the dock, Karen stepped forward, clipboard gone, voice soft. "I was wrong," she whispered, shaking. "I called the cops. I tried to take your boat. But tonight your boat saved lives. You save lives. She dropped her HOA badge into the water and walked away. Trent tried to rally, but the neighbors, Mrs. Diaz, Mr. Patel, even the quiet folks, turned their backs on him. No vote needed. When the ambulance left, the rain eased, and the street finally quieted. The neighborhood felt different. People hugged, kids pointed at Mercy, and I just stood on the dock, exhausted, thinking of my mom. Name something, Mercy. Try to live like you named it. And the next morning, as the sun rose over Lake Pine, we all met for breakfast on the lawn. Pancakes, coffee, laughter. No forms, no rules, just neighbors, finally, being neighbors. So before you go, tell me, where are you watching from tonight? And do you think, honestly, in a world full of Karens and Trents, that kindness still stands a chance?